another Space Junk Sabers weapon that I jammed electronics into. Coming up. What's going on, everybody? Tim from Tirfon Orbital. So yeah, another Space Junk Sabers Hilt install video. I do want to talk about the Hilt in depth a little bit and show it off because I mean, I've certainly never seen anything like this. Have you? I haven't. I think I can say that about every single one of the Hilts that I get from Nevin, because that's what they are. They are all one-off Hilts, right? So anyway, we're going to do a quick demo. I'm going to talk about the chassis a little bit. I'll talk about the install, and then we will be on our way, right? So let's talk about the chassis first. We're going to come down into Fusion. Here is the chassis that I designed for. As the first thing I'm noticing is I've got to talk about these Edison bulbs again. So this is the chassis that I designed for this particular Hilt. Client did request some greebly work around the side of the chassis. Again, like I've got these Edison bulbs, and I figured why not see if we can jam them in to this chassis, because this is a very thin chassis. This is like a 24 or 25 millimeter chassis. Yeah, 25 millimeters. So it was pretty thin, but I was able to get my Edison bulbs or Edison tubes around the back here. So I have some channels for the Edison bulbs. I actually make my splices and wire connections in this chamber below the Proffie. Okay, so the Proffie board sits in here, slides up underneath this lip. It is press fit in place. There is a kill switch just below the Proffie board. Here is our battery tray. 24 millimeter speaker at the bottom here. This is from Smugglers Outpost. And that's pretty much it. Just some mild greebly work. I did like this weird vent thing here. I actually saved this one. I'll probably be... I talked about this before, excuse me, in one of my chassis design vids. I've talked about this before, but like I have a library of greeblies in step format that I just pull from and slap on my chassis, right? So I don't like to reuse them too much, but there are just some go-tos that always look good, like vents. Like I've created some vents, some angled panels. So yeah, having them all in step format means I can resize them as I see fit. I can edit some of the walls. So that particular one I've saved. So let's come back down into Fusion. And that's it, right? So this is a very, very skinny chassis. I do make a connection to the top part of the hilt through this nipple here. It is static. I just put Tirfon Orbital in like Sith font here that's embossed on the chassis itself. And that's it, right? Nice and easy, nice and straightforward, nice and very, very thin and straight. But let's come down or up top. Look at this thing. Look, I mean... what? Who comes up with this? All right, so this looks like a bone. It's not, guys. It's not a real bone. It's like a faux. I think it might be made out of wood, but it's either way, who cares, right? It looks rad. Nevin is calling this the BoneFlex for an obvious reason. It is a hefty, hefty hilt, super, super long, really, really like almost old medieval republic looking, just a really, really rad hilt, okay? D-ring at the bottom here, threaded grip. We do have two buttons along each side of this upper section. So these are from Calaminian Customs. These are nice brass tactile switches. We do have a crystal chamber up here. Now this crystal chamber is behind some steel venting, which I love, love, love this. It looks so, so cool. So there's a crystal in here. I was able to light the bottom and top part of this crystal chamber, but that was not easy. I'll talk about that in a second here. Okay. And, you know, just Nevin's usual greebly work around the circumference of the hilt. Just looks so freaking good. The faux glass eye here does serve as your blade retention, right? So Nevin did include a custom blade plug with this. It is a 7/8 inch blade, but that I do like that. He utilized this as a blade retention, right? So to use the hilt, let's talk about it. This is a very hefty hilt, right? So I suggest you try to cradle the hilt as much as you can when taking the grip off, because this is a very thin chassis and it's long, okay? So you take your grip off. Here is the chassis, all right? So as I said, it's a very thin chassis, all right? So there is potential for it to break, right? So if you drop this hilt without the grip, there's a very good chance that this chassis will snap right here at this nipple section. So I do want to give that caveat and that warning. Just try and be very delicate with the chassis when the grip is off, and you should be fine, right? So to use the hilt, you want to take your flat side of your battery is your negative. I do like to try and cradle the chassis when putting the battery in, and then hit your kill switch.
What do you want? Justice.
So there's those Edison bulbs, Edison tubes. Okay. Here is that crystal chamber lit, and we've got a lit PCB. So you put your battery in, slide your grip back on, and we're ready to go. So let's come down to the bottom here. Jesus, man, this thing is huge. So I want to talk about trying to get this thing lit. So unfortunately, I was not able to get this entire crystal chamber out of here, and it's a thin neck, right? So it was not easy to get at the bottom and the top of this crystal chamber. So what I ended up doing was I wired up my neopixels, right? And had my whips coming off each neopixel. I temporarily glued them to the end. I temporarily glued them to the end of one of these foam filing sticks, right? So when I was ready to mount the neopixel, I stuck a little bit of glue on the top side of the neopixel and kind of just slid it all the way down to the bottom of the crystal chamber. That way it was pointing up, and vice versa, the same at the top, because it was just too deep for me to get my finger down in there. So that was how I lit. I mean, I could have easily just lit the top part of the chamber, but I really, really wanted to get both. That way it's nice and bright. Yeah. So you can really, really see that crystal. Yeah. So it wasn't too easy, but that's fine. One of the things that I love about installing is getting to engineer stuff like that. It was a little bit of a MacGyver solution, but figuring out, ways to do things is part of what makes it fun for me. So let's see what else we got on here. So different colors for each blade config. Yeah.
The Emperor's Hand.
There's that crystal again. Just put a blade in it. Okay, so this is a 7/8 inch blade. So this is a 7/8 inch blade holder, right? So when you take your blade plug out, you want to take your blade, just slide it in, make sure it's resting on those PCB pins. Make sure that faux glass eye is unscrewed. And then you just tighten it to secure your blade, and you're ready to go. What a beast. Absolute beast. Good Lord.
Kylo Ren.
Twist to activate, twist to deactivate is on. Lord have mercy. It's huge. I love this thing.
I'm never touching that thing again.
Whew. Hefty. Hefty. It doesn't help that I've got a 36-inch blade in this long hilt, so it's huge. So anyway, another really, really unique hilt from Nevin over at Space Junk Sabers. I've said this at length. You can really tell when somebody puts a lot of time and effort and craftsmanship into something, and you can definitely tell that Nevin puts a lot of thought into his stuff, right? I don't know where he gets this stuff from, man. Like, it's just like this knurled top, like just accents like this knurled top part right above this thin waist here. It's rad. Really love it. So anyway, to the client, sorry, to the client, thank you very much for trusting me with your build, with your install. To the viewers, thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. I think that's all I've got. So anyway, thanks for watching, everyone. And with that being said, may the force be with you always.